Hey, Triple Fivers, Andrew here coming to you with a initial review of the Kizer Mini Sheepdog. I received this, full disclosure, as part of being a member of Going Gear's EDC Club, collaborating with them to bring you their monthly gear subscription. It's the only gear subscription service that so far has caught my interest in the years of doing the channel, going on 10 years. And in the Going Gear EDC Club subscription a couple months ago, I received the Kizer Mini Sheepdog as well as this little freaky keychain. I will tell you straight away, the keychain thing is a gimmick and garbage, and I'm not using it. However, the Mini Sheepdog is quite nice. And so, you know, this is a time where I think it's really inconvenient for everyone to get out, shop, visit stores, and so a gear club where you can slowly build up your collection, round it out, makes a lot of sense to me. And Kizer is a brand that's basically proven at this point. This is one of the very reliable Chinese brands that are producing very interesting designs, and this is a great example of one of those designs. The Sheepdog is a very popular model, and the Mini Sheepdog is basically a smaller size model. So we're going to just take a look at it. As you can see here, it has really beautiful contoured G10. It's kind of like a canvas olive drab G10, and what you'll notice here is this is my son Leo. He's 10. He's opening this up. It has a ball bearing pivot and a really nice flipper on it too, kind of a larger kind of fin flipper on it, and so my 10-year-old son can really operate it, and that to me is where this knife has sort of the most interest. Is you want to get your kid, maybe for Christmas even, a proper modern EDC knife, and you don't want to just kind of go the buck route or the more standard fair route. This is a knife that a kid can operate really easily and safely. It has a nice liner lock. As you can see, it's this very nice satin finish blade, a 154 cm steel, which is kind of a basic steel used on Benchmates for a long time. And you have this kind of a cleaver style blade, and it is running on ball bearings, so you can close it very easily. It's not quite drop shut from the factory, which I actually prefer it that way. Here's the wire clip, real standard fare wire clip. I like that. It carries very nicely. This is not a particularly thick knife, even though it has sort of the overbuilt size blade. You're looking at a knife that has a closed length of 3.1 inches, a blade length of 2.6 inches, and the blade thickness itself is 0.11 of an inch, sorry, with an overall length of 5.75 inches. For me, this knife is admittedly just a three-hand knife. You can see here that for any kind of larger cuts, even though it has this larger kind of butcher style blade, it's not ideal for my hand size, and I have a large glove size hand. Yeah, you call it butcher or sheepsfoot. I'm not exactly sure how to describe it, but it's certainly a nice blade. In about a month, maybe a month and a half, regular carry, the geometry has worked really good for everyday carry, opening letters, opening packages, cutting small food items. You can slice up an apple, no problem. For all these things, I really enjoy this knife. And it's a handsome knife too, with that OD green canvas type of scale there. And then of course the pivot colors, anodized blue, and that's nice. Pivots, of course, on ball bearings, and that's really nice. And you've got just overall a very nice style of knife. I like liner locks. I think they're an underrated style of knife, and especially with a properly tuned flipper as we have here, a really manageable yet snappy detent. It is a pleasurable small knife to carry, and it fits into basically what I consider my favorite EDC category, just from a kind of style and fun standpoint, which I call the little big knives, which is basically a knife taking a kind of larger, thicker style and bringing it down to the smaller level. Let's just take a look at the box, what you get. This was obviously designed by Sheepdog Knives. The Mini Sheepdog is a shrunk down version of the larger Sheepdog, which of course is also a very cool knife if you're looking for a full-size version of this knife. But the Mini one is definitely awesome for EDC, and as you can see here in my pocket, seats nicely. It's not super deep, but I don't necessarily always need to have a deep ride pocket clip. It, it does allow you to purchase the top of the knife with your pointer finger when you're pulling it out of the pocket if it has a little bit of extra extension. And then again, that standard fare wire clip is going to that standard pressed clip, pocket clip, is tip up and seats in your pocket nicely. Let's compare this knife to some other little big knives that I have in my collection. We've got the Spyderco Techno there, and we've got the CRKT Mini Pilar. This knife kind of sits in the middle in terms of price with regard to if you were to get a Spyderco Techno 2 or the CRKT Pilar. And I think in terms of features, it's right in the middle too, because as you can see, it's kind of got a more thin blade width like the Pilar. It's actually even thinner. It isn't quite as heavily stylized as the Techno. Of course, the Techno has a CTS XHP powder metallurgy steel. It's a really high-end steel, and the Pilar has D2 steel, so it's not quite as nice as the 154 CM. One of the things that's nice about a liner lock and a flipper is there's no way to accidentally put pressure on the detent the way that you can with frame locks, so you're always going to reliably get a knife that can open. With the Techno, once it's properly broken in, this is a more traditional frame lock. It is also going to be pleasant to flip open, but this one is just on phosphor bronze washers, so the smoothness takes time. I've had this knife now for a couple years, and it is a knife that takes some time to properly break it in, and it's an investment too, for sure. $200 is what you're looking at. With the Pilar, I admittedly had to do some modifications to it. What it came with were plastic washers, and I replaced it with phosphor bronze washers. Those are much higher quality, and it improved the action significantly. It still doesn't have as good of action compared to the other two, and so I would say if you're looking for something more in the $50 range in a similar category of knife, the Pilar might be a way to go. But overall, out of the three, I admittedly prefer the Techno the most. These Taichung Taiwan knives from Spyderco are just gorgeous. It's just the first version of the Techno in particular, to me, it was just a consummate design. The second one seemed a little bit more derivative in its blade shape. This one has just such an interesting, unique, useful blade shape. Super thick at the top too. The stock is just so thick, but it's definitely kind of a knife for collectors too. Like, this is not the first knife you should buy for your kid, probably not even the first knife you should buy for yourself if you're getting into knife collecting. Whereas I could easily see the Mini Sheepdog being the type of knife that, again, might be a knife that you would give to a young kid who's maybe had their Victorinox already for a while, or they've proven their mettle with a more standard lockback knife, and they're interested in knives. This is a knife that I think isn't going to lose its interest over time. But let me know what you guys think down below. Give me a thumbs up for watching the video. Really appreciate you tuning in. And guys, thanks again for watching.